Right now, probably in your own home, there's a secret war being waged. It's this silent, relentless battle happening inside your walls and under your floors. It's your home's plumbing versus the environment. And you might be surprised to hear that in a lot of places, the environment is definitely winning. So get this. In one coastal city in South Florida, plumbing systems are failing up to 40% faster than the national average. Let that sink in. Pipes that are engineered to last a solid 50 years, they're giving up in as little as 30. That's more than just an annoying leak. It's a catastrophic failure rate that can cause some really devastating damage. So, that's the big question we're tackling in this explainer. What is it about North Miami Beach specifically that turns it into this brutal battleground for pipes? And here's a hint, it's not about shoddy workmanship or cheap materials. Nope, the real culprit is something much bigger, and it's hiding right underneath the entire city. And that really gets us to the heart of it. For people who own homes there, the problem isn't just, a single random leak. The real root cause is geography. The very ground they built their homes on is actively working against them, creating this predictable and, frankly, super frustrating cycle of plumbing disasters. And for the homeowners, this attack from the ground up shows up as the same frustrating problems over and over. We're talking about these tiny, impossible-to-find pinhole leaks that just pop up in copper pipes. Or you see older galvanized pipes basically rusting away from the inside and the outside at the same time. You get leaks under the concrete foundation of the house itself. And, oh yeah, those drain clogs that seem to come back no matter what you do. So, how in the world does this all happen? Well, it turns out it's not just one thing. It's actually a team of 4 hidden culprits, 4 different environmental factors that all work together to create this absolute perfect storm for corrosion and decay. Let's unmask them one by one. All right, culprit number 1 is the very ground the city is built on. It's porous limestone and coral. The best way to think about it is like a giant sponge. This bedrock doesn't just repel water, it soaks it up and holds onto it. That means the ground is just constantly wet all year round. Okay, so what's keeping that giant sponge totally waterlogged? Well, that would be culprit number 2, the Biscayne Aquifer. Now, this isn't some deep, far-off water source we're talking about. It's a huge freshwater aquifer that sits just a few feet below the surface. The water table there is incredibly high. And here's where it gets kind of wild. Because that water table is so high, it creates something called hydrostatic pressure. It's a technical term, but all it really means is there's a constant force from all that groundwater pushing up and sideways against everything buried in it. And that includes your home's foundation, and you guessed it, all its underground pipes. Culprit number 3 comes right from the coast. Since the city is right there by the Atlantic, salt water is always seeping into the groundwater. And this brackish, salty water doesn't just hang out in the ground. It actually makes its way into the municipal water supply. This sets up the perfect sneak attack. The high levels of chloride from the salt water are unbelievably corrosive to metal. So while the groundwater is physically pushing on the pipes from the outside, the very water running through the pipes is literally eating them away from the inside out. And our last culprit? It's in the very air you breathe. South Florida is legendary for its humidity. All that heavy moisture in the air gets trapped everywhere, inside walls, under floors, you name it. There's really no dry season for the guts of your home's structure.
So you see what's happening? It's a two-front war. You've got the salty water corroding pipes from the inside, while this never-ending dampness attacks the older steel pipes from the outside, causing them to rust and fail. The pipes just can't catch a break.
So, when you put all these factors together, what does this environmental assault actually look like for a homeowner? Well, the results aren't random at all. They are specific, they are predictable, and they are very costly problems that pop up again and again. And this is where the impact just becomes crystal clear. Take a look at standard copper pipes. In a typical town away from the coast, you'd expect them to last about 50 years. Easy. But in North Miami Beach, because of that high chloride water, that lifespan is slashed to just 15 to 20 years. I mean, that's not just a little reduction, it's a total collapse of what the material was designed for. And in the real world, this looks like, wow. It looks like those pinhole leaks slowly spraying water inside your walls, causing mold and rot you can't even see. It looks like rust building up inside pipes, choking your water pressure until one day they just burst. You get these weirdly warm spots on your floor because a hot water line is leaking under the foundation. And outside, tree roots are having a field day, invading these weakened pipes and causing endless backups. Okay, so it all sounds pretty bleak, right? But this war isn't unwinnable, not at all. The key is you have to stop trying to fix it with generic solutions and start fighting back with science, using modern materials and tech that are specifically designed for this kind of harsh environment. The very first line of defense is choosing the right materials. Things like PEX and CPVC, which are types of engineered plastics, are basically immune to the kind of corrosion that just shreds copper. They simply don't react with the saltwater, which completely neutralizes that internal attack. It's all about picking the right weapon for the specific battlefield.
And the second part of the strategy is all about precision. Instead of just tearing down walls and hoping for the best, modern diagnostics uses science to find the problem. We're talking electronic listening devices that can actually hear the sound of a leak through solid concrete, high-pressure water jets that use physics to blast pipes clean, and tiny fiber optic cameras that let you see the inside of your entire system.
And because these problems are so complex, the way you respond has to be incredibly methodical. It's a clear process. Use that high-tech gear for a precise diagnosis. Make sure the homeowner knows exactly what the plan is, and then execute a repair that's verified to have solved the actual root problem, not just slapped a Band-Aid on a symptom.
And this is a really crucial point. All of this work is governed by the Florida Building Code, which actually has specific, tougher rules for coastal areas just like this one. The code demands certain materials and methods designed to handle saltwater and high water tables. This isn't just a suggestion, it's the law, an official recognition that in this environment, you have to build smarter to survive.
So you might be thinking, what does the story of one city's pipes have to do with me? Well, it turns out this whole situation is a case study with a powerful lesson for every single homeowner. And it doesn't matter where you live. It's all about understanding your home's unique story.
And this right here is the biggest takeaway. Every single home, everywhere, is fighting a quiet battle with its specific local environment. It doesn't matter if it's clay soil in Texas that expands and contracts, the freeze-thaw cycles in the Northeast, or the salty air in Florida. Your home is under constant attack, and the only way to really win is to understand the battlefield.
What's happening in North Miami Beach is just a really clear example of a universal truth. Every single town has its own unique story written in its geology, its climate, its water, and that story directly shapes how your house ages and what kinds of problems it's going to face down the line. And that brings us to our final question for you. The war in North Miami Beach is fought against salt, humidity, and a shallow aquifer. So what about your home? What are the unseen forces, the soil, the water, the climate, that are shaping its future right now, behind your walls and under your feet?